Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1 comes from a short window in time when multiple franchises decided to split their final book in two in order to squeeze every last drop of milk before the cow went dry. Let's not pretend that we're going to have anything truly positive to say about the fourth Twilight movie, but we can at least find out if it's as laughably bad as the previous two entries. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter and I'm joined as always by Tim.
You're already so moody and distraught.
I guess I'm just the Jacob of this episode. I'm just upset about everything all the time.
Okay, now take your shirt off.
Yeah, alright. So, yes, this is a horror movie podcast. We talk about horror films, usually.
Most of the time.
And, you know, that's simple. That's the show. We sit, we talk, we maybe analyse if possible, have a laugh, make some jokes, generally have a good time, and hopefully people enjoy the discussion. But
and if you don't, feel free to leave us a nasty comment.
Sure, why not? Yeah. But probably a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago at this point, I did something foolish. I put a goal on one of my live streams for me and Tim to review the first Twilight movie. Mm-hmm. And it was such a popular decision, not with us, but with people, that it came back for the second movie, then the third, and now the fourth. Not the final one. There's a fifth movie because they split the last book into two. So we get half a story here, but this is going to be Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1, the fourth out of 5 Twilight movies. So
now, Pete, when you said that we were going to be doing Breaking Dawn Part 1, my immediate thought was, wait a minute, is this a movie or an episode of Buffy?
Did you think there was an episode of Buffy where Dawn gets tortured until she finally breaks down and, like, you know, confesses her sins or something?
Remember the other day when I sent you a message and I said I had a joke? For
that was the joke. That was the joke you had planned days in advance. Oh my! I have a good joke actually. I had a popper during when I was watching the movie.
Okay, a popper, you say?
A popper, yes. So there's a scene early on in this where Jacob finally shows up at the wedding, and Edward's like, "I've got a wedding gift for you, honey," and he takes her out, and like, this is a weird scene. This is your wedding gift as another man. But I hit with a good joke. I thought I said he wants a menage a Twilight.
That's very good. I like that.
Well, I thought it was alright.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, when it's something on the fly. That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll get into it. Obviously, spoilers for the whole movie, because you know.
I'm not even gonna bother.
What's the point? I mean, it's the fourth Twilight movie. Like, first of all, it's terrible, and no one's expecting us to, like, you know, recommend it before we go into the plot details. And two, like, who cares about the fourth Twilight movie unless you've already, like, at this point you're invested if you care about them. So, yeah, just spoilers. You know, the last movie ended with the proposal finally happening and them agreeing to marry each other.
And I can't believe it's previously 3 movies, because I was getting confused at first. I was like, wait a minute, there was a third movie. Like, I could not for the life of me tell you what the plot of, like, the last 2 movies were. So I had to make sure that I was watching the right one. I was like, wait, are we supposed to do the third movie or the fourth movie? Because I cannot remember 3 specific plot lines for this franchise.
I think I remember them. Well, I think oddly it's the first. Well, I guess the first one's not forgettable because it's the first one, because it's the first time they see each other and all that bollocks.
Yeah.
The second one I remember is the one where Edward leaves and Bella tries to get her adrenaline up so she sees the ghost of him. That's what I remember from that one.
That's right. Forgot about that.
The third one is we're on the mountaintop and Edward's too cold, so she has to snuggle with Jacob in front of Edward.
There you go.
That's the third one. That's my plot.
It's also clear now.
Do you know what's so funny about this movie is that the villains are basically not in it at all. There's like no villain because it's only half the story.
Well,
so...
yeah, I mean that's the thing that's like crazy about this one, and I don't know. To me, this like might be the worst one. I'm not sure because like
it's the most boring one for sure.
Yeah, it's just all about like getting laid, basically.
Well, there's a couple of funny moments early on that I liked, but like you know, because the last two were especially hilarious. Like there was a lot of stuff to make fun of, and we did Twilight Bingo. I watched this on stream just literally just before we came out to record. I watched the movie on stream with people, and for every movie we've made a bingo card, right? And there was some stuff on the bingo card this time that seemed like surefire hits but didn't happen, and part of it's because Edward and Jacob are kind of over the rivalry by this point for the most part. A lot of the silly little things between them aren't there anymore, so it kind of robbed it of some of the comedy. There was no shitty villain stuff in this one really, other than like a mid-credit scene that maybe sets up the evil vampire council as the villains for the last movie. But otherwise, this movie is about the wedding, the honeymoon, and then the pregnancy. Like that's the movie. That's the whole thing. Yeah. And some of the conflict of like the baby maybe killing Bella and what Jacob wants to do maybe about that. That's your conflict. That's everything.
Very timely movie.
Well, that was the thing. Someone said in chat as we were watching it, is this some sort of debate about pro-life versus pro-choice? And I'm like, I don't necessarily think it is. I think you can. I obviously you can see why you would think it might be that, but I don't think the movie's saying anything about it.
No, absolutely not.
It's if anything, it's because like everyone but Bella is saying, oh, you should probably, this baby's probably going to kill you because it's a weird vampire hybrid thing, so you might want to like not do this.
Yeah, like I think the only thing that maybe really alludes to it is like I think there was one scene where someone like calls it a fetus and like the person corrects them and like, no, it's a baby or something like that.
It's funny you bring that up, Tim, because one of my favorite lines of the whole movie, I only noted down two things this whole film, but one of them was a line of dialogue where I can't even remember who said it, but someone said, oh, this isn't good for Bella, and then someone else said, this fetus isn't good for Bella. And that made me laugh. That really made me laugh. But anyway,
boy.
So to start from the beginning, I suppose, I was surprised that the movie basically started. I thought the movie was going to end with the wedding, and it was going to there was going to be like planning, like picking out what dresses. Like I thought we were going to get like Father of the Bride, but in the Twilight universe. That's what I was expecting. And the movie kind of opens with Bella has like a dream right at the start of them. It's like a nightmare where she's at her wedding, and this made me laugh as well actually, because in her dream she's walking down the aisle, and for some reason her dad's not walking her down, he's just in the audience, but everyone in the crowd is happy and smiling because they're getting married except her dad, who's standing there looking like his life's over, and it's just, that really made me laugh as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about the horror aspect of it, I feel like if you look at everything from the father's point of view, this is maybe like the worst nightmare a parent can have. Like their 18-year-old daughter like decides to just up and marry as soon as she graduates to this guy that you hardly know and is super weird, and she basically just leaves and like doesn't tell you anything like about where she's going or her life. It's
there's a big
very scary.
There's a running thing at the start during the wedding where they keep pointing out that no one knows where their honeymoon is, and he keeps like saying, hey, and this is not an unreasonable request, just in case something happens as an accident, just to know where you are so he can contact you. That's a pretty normal thing.
Yeah,
but it's
at the very
cool.
least, like you would, I don't know, there'd be like alarm bells if if your husband to be is like, no, I'm not going to tell anyone. Yeah,
it's someone
creepy.
And someone in chat said, so it's a surprise to be romantic for Bella. So two things on that. One, I actually never got that she didn't know. I thought it was just that everyone else didn't know. But even if that's true, well, it only needs to be a surprise to her. Why can't Edward talk to Charlie, Bella's dad, and say, hey, this is where we're going, these are the contact details, don't tell her. like that would be fine.
Also, it's a little shitty, like, when you get married, you kind of want to plan things together and compromise. Like, you know, surprises are nice, but something as big as your honeymoon, I feel like that's something that, you know, each party should have equal input on. It's yeah, it's a little bizarre.
Yeah. I imagine you get married and your wife like pulls out like some giant strap on and goes, "Surprise, we're going to be pegging tonight," and then you're like, I appreciate the thought, but not really my thing. You know, that's a ridiculous example, but yes. Anyway, so it's kind of funny seeing Bella's dad like be around all of the other vampire family, because obviously he doesn't know they're vampires. He's just kind of like, oh, it's a weird family, but like he's like looking at the wall that's got like 100 graduation hats, because obviously they've all graduated so many times. They've got all these hats on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing to collect. I'm sure no one will ever be suspicious of that when they come over.
Yeah. What, do you just buy graduation hats every couple of years just for the fun of it? It's a bit of a weird, you know, pastime. Yeah, the wedding, honestly, like the tone of the first like 20 minutes of this movie was kind of weird to me. Like even just in the context of it being Twilight, it kind of felt like when it got to the part, because they have the wedding, they say their things, they kiss. You know, if the very first thing you see in the movie, I skipped straight to Bella's dream. The very first thing you see in this movie is, because one of the things in the bingo card was Jacob takes his shirt off. Another thing in the bingo card was this crappy CGI wolf. And then another one was Jacob reacts poorly to finding out they're getting married. And all three of those were hit in the first 10 seconds, because Jacob runs out, drops the invite, rips off his shirt and turns into a wolf in the rain. That's the opening of this movie. I was like, damn, that was like ding 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 like immediately. But yeah, the tone's weird too. When it gets to the actual, like, they're all making toasts, and it does this like weird like deadpan comedy thing where a couple of them try to like crack jokes, and it just like is met with a lead balloon. Like one of them cracks jokes about, oh, it's the honeymoon, like I'm sure you'll be busy and you know you're not getting any sleep, and like it just cuts to Bella's dad just sitting there like, I need more booze. Like
it tries very hard to be funny, but it's everything falls very flat. Like, yeah, you have the dad being like, better be good to her because I'm a cop and I have a gun and I can find you, and you have Anna Kendrick's character being like, I can't believe, like, you know, she got married first even though I'm the one that's so much better than her. And it's like, it's not very funny.
I'm shocked she was in 4 of these movies.
I guess like she probably, I mean, I'm not sure what else was around at the time, but she probably wasn't a huge deal yet.
I mean at this point, this is 2010 2011, this would have been just after like Scott Pilgrim. She was in that. She was in Up in the Air already by this point. In fact, she was in Up in the Air probably the same year Twilight 2 came out. So so you know, like,
she's noticeable. Like,
I guess like she was probably unknown when she was cast in Twilight 1, but by the time like the sequels were coming out, she was already starting to be known. But I guess, I mean, locked in contract, maybe.
Yeah. And I mean, hopefully she got like a decent payday, because obviously the movies had money to throw around. So
I bet she didn't. I bet she was cast when she was not big enough yet, that she was locked in.
Really, yeah, locked in, yeah.
Because it's the same thing with Jennifer Lawrence in the X-Men movies. Like, they were so happy
really?
because they were happy they locked her in for First Class before Hunger Games became huge, because that would have meant that she would have cost way more. But they'd already locked her in for like a, I don't know, 4 or 5 movie deal at a certain price. So it's like, well, you know. So that's why she was like determined to leave that franchise as quickly as she could. Well, that and she hated the blue makeup, I think, was the other reason.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, so they go on their honeymoon. I have shockingly very little to say about the wedding, except the aforementioned here's a present for you, Bella, and takes her out into the edge of the trees, and Jacob's there like a weirdo, and it's like, look at how cool a husband I am. I'm okay that you're going to spend a quiet moment with your not ex-boyfriend, but the guy who's in love with you. I'm going to leave you alone. And they have this slow dance as they talk, and Jacob is kind of cool with everything until he learns that they're going to have sex before she becomes a vampire, and he flips his shit.
So but I don't really understand like any of this. Like, I don't understand why she is so determined to do this when it's like, yeah, like you could die if you have sex with a vampire. Like, I don't understand why it's such a big deal. Like, no, I have to do this. I don't know.
I have some weird questions for it as well, because I actually had this thought. See, when they have sex eventually for the second time, when she convinces him to finally do it again, I was thinking to myself, like, surely if like she went on top and he just lay there and let her do all the work, surely that would be safe. Like, he wouldn't. You know.
So really, like, the whole thing of it is just that, like, they are so powerful that, like, his thrusting like, could potentially be dangerous. Like, that's what they're saying, right? Like,
yeah, because he's basically breaking the bed apart as he's like plowing into her, and right. And, do you know what, actually, I said this as I was watching it, but it's very rare that you get like a movie sequel where the whole thing's been written by the one creator, Stephanie Meyer's, written all the books, right? And this sex scene when they finally have sex on their honeymoon, it feels like someone wrote fan fiction for a franchise they like, but this is actually the creator who's writing this. And I mean that leads, that bleeds back into everything I've said about this whole series up until this point, that it is just this weird like fantasy of that she's written, that she wants to act out through these characters. But this does feel like some teenager writing like, I don't know, like a Superman and Lois sex scene. That's what this felt like. And then, I mean, honestly, this section is probably the section that inspired the 50 Shades of Grey fan fiction.
I was thinking about that. Because I don't really know much about 50 Shades of Grey other than that. Yeah, it's kind of about like BDSM kind of stuff, and that it's also started off as Twilight fan fiction. And yeah, watching all this stuff where like she's getting bruised and there's like some dangerous stuff and like some painful stuff. I'm like, oh, like that must be entirely where that comes from, right? Like
that, and also even just before that stuff happens, I was getting 50 Shades vibes, because unfortunately I've seen the movies. Is in the 50 Shades movies, there's a lot of like him being rich and whisking her away on boats and planes and stuff like that. Okay. So that kind of happens in this, where he takes her on a boat to this like little beach house that he's got for the honeymoon. And I was like, this feels very 50 Shades. This feels like what happens. But in 50 Shades, it happens like every 5 minutes. Like, it's constantly happening in those movies. But I was like, oh, I'm getting some proper 50 Shades vibes from this little section. I did laugh a little bit because it ended up not being the whole movie. It was only like one 10-minute section. But after they have sex and he sees that she's got bruises and he feels so guilty, he's like, oh no. And she's like, it's okay, just a couple of bruises. And all I was thinking, like, just say you're into BDSM. Because all of a sudden, like, it makes this less awkward if you're into a bit of a spanking. But what's so weird is that we get this montage. The next 5-10 minutes of this movie are about her gagging for it and him constantly like cock blocking her by playing chess instead of having sex, or giggling when she tries to do a sexy pose instead of getting into it, or going like diving in the water. At one point she tries to kiss him in the water and he like uses his super speed to like go down the other end of the water. It's this really and I was like, is that what this movie's going to be? It's just him like avoiding sex with her and her just like begging for it constantly. It's like, yeah,
it's like, it's bizarre that this is like the plot of, I don't know, like one of the biggest franchises. Like,
I mean, to be honest, all of this, because this movie's far more boring because there's not as much silly stuff. There is one hugely silly, problematic thing later on in the movie, which we'll get to. And that's the thing I can't believe was okayed in a major franchise that made hundreds of millions of dollars and has a fan base that probably defends it, because we'll talk about the imprinting later.
Yeah, boy.
But yeah, this stuff is just silly and like just laughable. And this is the like, because I was kind of waiting, and again, this is the other thing that made me think of 50 Shades. 50 Shades is kind of a movie that doesn't have much of a plot beyond just they keep like having these interactions and having sex, and they keep just moving forward. I was kind of feeling that early on in this movie as well. I was like, okay, what's the plot? Where's the villain in this one? Not that the villain plots in the previous movies have been good, because they've all been terrible, but there was a villain, there was some threat, there was something that was going to be a danger to her, and there is something that's a danger to her, but it's very different in this movie.
Yeah, so I honestly don't really have any idea what happens in the last movie, but I mean, it's no wonder that, it's pretty obvious a lot of times they'll split up the last, with stuff that's based on a book, they'll split it up into two to, just to kind of milk it and make more money. But yeah, I mean, this movie, it feels like so, like, it doesn't feel like a complete movie. Like, it feels like this could have easily been, like the first 30-45 minutes or whatever of the last movie. I don't know, it doesn't really feel like that much happens. Like, we're taking our time with it, but you could easily explain the whole movie in just like a few minutes.
I think I did at the start. I said it's the wedding, the honeymoon, the pregnancy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, you can probably do that to any movie if you really try, but
sure,
it does kind of feel like it's like, because the final moment made me laugh, because I'm like, yeah, of course this is the cliffhanger, this is the final moment, get into the next one. But I imagine that people who had read the books probably knew what the break was going to be, because it's probably the most obvious thing to where to split it. But yeah, the whole honeymoon thing's weird. It oddly has this other element into it where, like, there's a couple of housekeepers, and like, at first it was just like a bit of comedy, effectively, because like the woman like kind of suspects that he's a vampire and thinks he's scary. But when Bella like realizes she's late, right, and she realizes that, oh wait, I might be pregnant, and she throws up or whatever, Edward goes and gets this woman and asks her for her opinion or advice or whatever. And I was not expecting this like fourth Twilight movie to do the horror trope of the sort of the older Latin woman who knows things about supernatural stuff. I'm like, this is so weird. Like, why would she know more about this than you would? Like, you're actually a vampire. But later on, he does a Yahoo image search to try and find lore about human vampire babies.
That was so funny. Yeah, I actually thought the same thing, because yeah, like, he's a vampire. He has this whole family of like vampires, and they're like from different ages and stuff that presumably would have, pretty vast amounts of knowledge, and especially with something like this that you assume has probably come up before in vampire history. But no, he just has to like, go talk to this housekeeper to get her take. Which was bizarre. And also, I have no idea what is going on. Like, at first I thought it was just a deserted island just for them, but it's like, all right, well, there are these housekeepers too. Like, are they, like, do they also just live on the island, or are they like coming in from like some village or something that's a little far out? I have no idea.
I mean, Edward takes her there in this very small boat, so I don't think it's like a big distance from the mainland or anything. So
okay.
That was not one of the problems I had with it. I had a lot of problems, but that wasn't one of them.
I don't know. It just bugged me.
I felt fine. Yeah. Let your twihard freak flag fly.
I was also wondering, like, I don't know how long they're gonna be there, but I was very curious about where they're gonna get food from.
I assume he just had the kitchen stock for her before he got there.
I mean, how long is that gonna last though? And
well, he does go out at one point when she realizes she's pregnant, so he's obviously going and getting stuff occasionally.
Okay, occasionally.
Well, she mentions it's been 2 weeks since the wedding, so they've been there for a while.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Why do you think they can't just go buy some food for her?
Because it's a deserted island. Like, I don't know, that's a lot of work to keep going like back and forth. If
it's not
again, like, if there's a village nearby or something, but
it's not some uninhabited place like it's off in the middle of nowhere. It's clearly near like the mainland and like close enough to get to.
Okay. If you say so.
What do you mean if I say so? You see them, they take a little speedboat to get to it. It's not like they go on a cruise and they go on a voyage.
How long does it take him to get in that seaboat? You're gonna be going there like back and forth like all the time.
Tim, how is this any different than driving 15 minutes to get something at a store?
I don't know. I feel like getting on a boat is a little more difficult than me getting in my car, but I don't know. I don't have my boater's license, I guess.
I don't think it is any more difficult. Why would it be any more? If anything, it's there's no door. It's easier. You just step in it and untether the thing, and off you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it doesn't really sound super fun for a honeymoon to, be constantly going back and forth to get food. Like, sometimes you just want to like sit in and get DoorDash or something and be kind of lazy.
He's also got super speed, Tim. Like, there's a lot of elements to this that I don't think it's not a huge question mark to me of like how are they stocking the fridge.
I'm not saying like there's not possibly answers for it. I'm just saying it's something I thought about. Okay,
I'll tell you what I thought about is so when they first get to the place, Edward, like, she looks at the bed awkwardly, he looks at the bed, and it's a bit of an awkward moment. And he says, how about we go for a swim, right? He's putting it off, and she's like, oh, that sounds great, just give me 2 minutes. She says something like that to that effect, just give me a couple of minutes. Then you get a montage of her not only brushing her teeth, which is fine, that's a couple of minutes, but then she also it cuts to her shaving her legs. And she's like, she's shaving her legs, she's showering, she's like, doing everything, and I'm like, how long is this taking you? Like, she comes out to like meet him outside in the ocean to go for a swim, and it's got that the full moon, you've got the moonlight like making this beam down the waterway. They go for this like greeting card style like image, and I'm like, he's been waiting out here for like 2 hours. Like, this is how long this is taking for her to just go and like prep herself to go skinny dipping.
Yeah, the shaving the legs I thought was like especially funny. Like, it's just like, oh, it's not something you did beforehand. Like,
yeah, you didn't do that in the morning of the wedding or the night before the wedding. You didn't do that for the wedding dress. No, okay. Like,
I don't know. I also found this stuff like how to like a lot of this stuff where she's like trying to be sexy and everything. Like, I don't know. To me, it just felt like very cringy because it always like I feel like she always kind of does like the same thing where she's like putting on like makeup or doing her hair or something, or like getting ready, and then like she always kind of do this thing at the end where it's like, what am I doing? This isn't me. Like, like a kind of like, well, I'm just a regular girl. What am I don't know what I'm doing. But it's like, I don't know, like, you're obviously very attractive. Like, you don't have to like act like all very silly about it. I don't know.
I just like, she's thinking, oh, Anna Kendrick, this is her thing. I can't do this.
Yeah.
This is too girly for me.
Yeah, that's what it kind of seemed like the subtext of a lot of the scenes. She's putting on like she's looking at like with a sexy lingerie or whatever, like her sister-in-law packed her or something like that. I don't know. And she's just like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, I could never wear this. Like, what's going on? I'm just a normal girl, and now I'm married to a vampire. How do I do this? Like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. You're the one who thought you were old enough to get married. Like, deal with it. Like, there's consequences to your action now. You can't just be like, like, what am I doing? like, geez, you made a huge life decision. I don't know.
I also have a question, actually, as well.
I'll answer it.
All right. So let's just assume Bella wanted to feel what sex was like as a human, and that's why she insisted on doing this in the honeymoon first before eventually becoming a vampire. Okay, I'll roll with that. So
she should have done Jacob? Is that what your question?
No. All right. If there was any risk, and clearly there's at least some lore about like these like weird vampire babies when a vampire impregnates a human, because he looks up on Yahoo later. But wouldn't Edward, like, I don't know, maybe use a condom or something if there was a risk of this, if there was a risk of actually impregnating her? I didn't think there was. I mean, I knew there was because I knew just from pop culture there was going to be a baby, but like, I would have assumed that he couldn't impregnate her because he's a vampire.
I don't know what the physiology is. Like, I assume he's technically dead, which I would think would mean his sperm is dead. But But I don't know. I mean, maybe his boys can swim, and maybe even if he did wear a condom, that maybe they're so powerful that they would just, like shoot right out of it. I don't know. I guess that would be my guess.
Just if it's powerful to shoot through a condom, though, wouldn't it be? Would that do some damage to her?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Which is probably why they were worried. Also, I mean, is Edward supposed to be a virgin too? Because there's no way that dude didn't get laid.
No. I think she cracks a joke at one point when he says, "I've got something I need to tell you." Which I've almost forgot to talk about this actually. So yeah, but before they're going to have sex, or I think this is maybe before the wedding actually, right at the start of the movie. Because she thinks he's getting cold feet, and he's like, no, I'm not getting cold feet, but there is some things you don't know about me. And she jokes, says, "What, are you going to tell me you're not a virgin?" Like, obviously he isn't, because he's been alive for hundreds of years. He's probably seduced many an underage girl at this point. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Because that's what he keeps going back to high school to pick up chicks. Like, don't tell me this isn't creepy shit, because it is.
Yep.
But he basically goes to tell her that he has killed some humans in the past because he had this thirst, but he did it a sort of Dexter way where he attacks only like men who are either killers or rapists or something, because you think he's stalking this woman, but he's actually stalking the guy who's stalking the woman, and he kills him instead. So we get a flashback where Edward's wearing like a little bonnet kind of hat. I thought that was funny.
It was great.
It was great. Okay. Yes, I almost forgot to talk about this shocking revelation from Edward's backstory.
He loves blood.
He doesn't. He does dabble in a bit of the old iron.
Okay.
Anyway, is there anything else to talk about in the honeymoon? I don't know. I think we've milked this particular teat dry. Yeah.
She gets preggers super fast.
The pregnancy is really fast as well. Apparently, vampire babies grow at an accelerated rate.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
I guess so. It makes sense.
Yeah, I was laughing actually just after this because in the previous movies, Bella had this knack for not telling her dad anything and like sort of like not telling him she was going to go somewhere, and she would like literally get in a plane and go to Rome with like Edward's sister. And I was laughing because in this movie she does the opposite. She's actually back in the town in Forks, but she keeps lying and saying she's somewhere else.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jacob gets pissed when he finds out that she's sick and comes over to the Cullens, and we spend the rest of the movie pretty much at the Cullens because she's sick, the baby's making her ill, but she's determined to like give birth to the baby even if it kills her. And Edward basically says, if that baby kills you, I'm killing the baby. Like that's basically what he says. Jesus. I'm going to punt it into the sun if you die, is what his eyes say. I can see it in his eyes. That's what he's thinking. There's
like, I don't know, like obviously I don't really sit here and like think too hard about this movie, but like if you really do break it down, there's a lot of like weird bad messaging in it. Oh, for sure. I mean, this has been like a thing with the series since the first one. I think the second one especially had a lot of problematic messaging for girls. This movie has imprinting. Yeah.
Amongst other things, but imprinting's the biggie, right? Because there wasn't really any moments in this where I burst out laughing until we got to that scene because of how it happened. We'll get to it. So
I think I don't know, Bella drinking blood I thought was a little funny.
Well, I thought it was funny that they put it in a cup. It was like a McDonald's cup with a lid and a straw. Yeah. So it looked like a fast food cup, and I thought that was funny. It's like, why are you preparing it as if it's like a fast food cup? Why not just give her the cup? Like, yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I missed something, but why are the werewolves so invested in what's going on here? Like, why do they give a shit?
Well, I don't know.
Like, obviously Jacob likes Bella, so obviously has a thing, but like the whole werewolf like clan or whatever is like about to go to war.
Basically, they something about this baby is that these types of babies are so bloodthirsty that it'll be a monster, and they consider this like a threat, and that's why it's a big deal. And the reason why Bella drinks blood, just to get this out of the way now since we brought it up already, is that she's very sick, but it turns out the reason why she can't keep any food down is because the baby's craving blood, and so she drinks some blood. I actually had a bit of a dumb moment here, because when she said the baby needs blood, I thought, what, is someone going to like stick their hand up and let the baby bite? I was like, oh, of course she would just drink it. Yeah, like normal mothers do for their unborn children. Yes. Anywho, so yeah, so we spend a lot of time here where like Edward asks Jacob to convince Bella to, let them like abort the baby because it's a danger to her. Doesn't really work though, and there's a lot of like, there's so much of this is really weird where like Jacob's like there and he sticks by her side, and at one point Jacob even like has to go to war with the rest of the werewolves because they don't, which actually leads to one of the stupidest scenes. Like, remind me, Tim, if you remember, could they always talk to each other when they were in werewolf form?
Jeez, I don't remember that at all.
No.
But yeah, it was kind of surprising when you see it in this movie. It just looks so goddamn stupid.
I mean, the CG wolves look bad all the time anyway, but once you start adding their dialogue on top of it, it just looks stupid. And it's basically the one who's the head of the tribe now is like, no, we have to like take care of this and kill it and kill Bella. And obviously Jacob's like, no. A couple of them defect with him, and like they hang out and like guard the perimeter so that the rest of the wolves can't come and attack them, which is a bit of a problem inside, because it's like, well, we can't leave now, so whatever blood we've got stocked up is all we've got. So that's kind of a thing. And so yeah, there's a scene eventually where the werewolves do attack the vampires, and then Jacob and the two that were on his side show up to like help fight off the rest of the werewolves. This is this big stupid action scene towards the end, but luckily something in werewolf law would get them to back down. Something where the werewolves will respect it, and they will just, no questions asked, say we can't attack them anymore because of this. And that is that if one of the people involved is imprinted upon, then the werewolves consider them sacred and can't touch them. And it's not something that is planned. It's not something that Jacob's planning to do. But basically, once the baby's born, and this seemingly kills Bella. Bella's lying on the table like dead. Like, she looks dead. Jacob comes in as the blonde sister is holding the baby at a fireplace, and Jacob's walking up slowly, and you're thinking maybe he's going to do it. Maybe he's going to still do what the werewolves want. He's going to kill the baby because he's pissed that Bella died. And then when he sees the face of the baby, which, by the way, the CG face that's put on this baby looks so stupid. Like, what the hell? Like, I don't want to hear people complain about Young Eleven in season 4 of Stranger Things ever again, because this thing was like absurdly creepy. But Jacob sees it, and his face just kind of like, he just stops dead in his tracks and stares into its eyes, and it plays it as a, in like a rom-com when like someone meets each other for the first time, and it's like love at first sight. That's what this scene is. It's love at first sight, but with a newborn baby.
Yeah. I don't know, like, who in their right mind, well, I mean, I guess obviously, the author, but I don't know why they thought this was like a good idea.
How did a movie studio agree to this? To agree to put this into a movie?
Like, at the very least, like, really, really go out of your way to explain, like, make it not a romantic thing. Like, if you want to be like, oh, they can form like a bond where he's like a protector father figure, like really emphasize that. Yeah, okay. But like you said, it is like filmed like very romantically.
He gets this like flash forward, when he imprints where he sees her running around as an 18-year-old. And it's very clearly like, oh, that's going to be the woman of my life when the time comes. And I'm like, there's so many things about this. Obviously, it's problematic just because you're like sort of like you're taking this like choice away from this person because it's an infant.
Oh sure, yeah.
Right. Amongst everything else.
Well, I mean, it's like it reeks of like grooming.
Oh yeah, grooming.
Like.
And that's maybe the problem with what you're suggesting as well. Actually, is that if he's let's say in printing, because they never really explain it, I don't think fully in this movie, but let's say in printing was it was more of a like, oh no, I am taking this as like a godfather almost. I am this godfather to this baby, and therefore you are not allowed to touch it because you'd be harming one of our own effectively, that or something. But no, it plays like love at first sight. It is such a weird scene, and all I could think after this is like, so Jacob runs out when the fight's going on, and the wolves all stop and they back down, and Edward explains to the other vampires, oh no, they have to back down now because they can't attack someone who's imprinted upon by another wolf. And I thought, Edward, as the father of this baby, does it not weird you out now that your like not even a day old baby has been claimed by someone? Like, because all I could think, I was getting flash forwards in my head to dinners and like any social event where everyone's together, and like Jacob meeting like, oh now Renesmee, we'll talk about the name in a minute.
Oh yeah.
Young Renesmee, like, oh, she's just turned 5. She's she's getting ready to go to like first grade or whatever, and like Jacob just being like, oh, it's nice to see you, Renesmee. I'm Uncle Jacob. And he's looking at his clock, going 13 more years. Just this is creepy. This is awful. And how can Bella and Edward not feel uncomfortable about this? Like, and especially since Jacob was in love with Bella, and now he's like, well, I'll have the daughter. Next best thing. Like, this is so creepy.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like, totally a father's worst nightmare. Like, just having a family friend just looking at your daughter being like, hey, what the hell?
Is this like karma for Edward, because he did this to Charlie? Like he like took his daughter away like immediately when she turned 18. So now his comeuppance is that Jacob has already claimed his daughter at the earliest possible time.
He's basically calling dibs. He's like, all right guys, dibs. I got
there is not a single part of this that is defensible in any way, shape, or form, and I cannot even fathom what a Twilight fan would say to defend any of this, because it is sick. Right? You can try and explain it by saying it's not quite love, it's this different meaningful connection where two souls, it doesn't matter what their ages are because their two souls are like you're linking, and I'm like, I don't give a shit, it's still love at first sight.
And like I had known about this before the movie came out, because it's just one of those things that people would talk about, because like, oh, this crazy thing happens in this book, and from like people that have read the book or talked about online, like I've never heard anyone try to say it's something other than like some type of romantic love. Like,
oh sure,
like I don't even know if like I don't know, I feel like I've heard people say like, are there like flash forwards or something in the book, or maybe visions of them like maybe even getting married? I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering that, or
I'm sure
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm sure we're going to have to do the 5th movie at some point, Tim, so we'll find out if the movie has anything like that.
Yeah,
I mean, they cast an actress, because there's some flashes of her in this.
That's true.
We see her. We see an 18-year-old. I assume she's 18 in this little flash forward.
See, if they ever want to make more money, which I mean, everyone always does, and then they put out like new Twilight or something a couple of years later. And,
when Jacob's like 45 and
she's
like
all
20.
grown up, but then they have to introduce like some other love interest, like some Frankenstein moves to town, and
that's the triangle. So once again, Jacob's in a triangle.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see it. No, again, Jacob's only 18, so he would be in his 40s. He'd be 36, assuming he's 18 now.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's
not fine. I'm not trying
creepy.
I'm not trying to say
that makes sense.
I'm just doing the math and sort of
yeah.
I'm hearing cats like cause chaos like in the hall, like something getting knocked off a radiator, I'm sure. Anyway, try to take my mind off this horrible movie. Thank you, cats. I appreciate it.
So Bella's dead. The end.
I was thinking this would be. I would. Nothing would impress me more if I found out watching this that Bella died and that she's just not in the last movie. That would be so ballsy. But no, of course, the final shot is her eyes opening and she's a vampire. Like Edward basically sort of like rushes and starts biting her all over her body to try and turn her into a vampire. That's his like whole thing.
Was he? Like he injects her with something and they're like, what is that? And then doesn't he say like my venom or something like that?
Yeah, do you know what? I missed the line because I was like, what did he just inject? Yeah, I think it's just his blood because that's part of the siring process.
I could be wrong, but I think he does say like it's my venom or my poison, something like that.
Is that what he said after he impregnated her as well? My
Probably.
poison did this. So yeah, there's a lot of like her on the operating table, or not even operating, just the chair, but she looks dead. Like I mean,
I'll give them a little bit of credit. I do think like the makeup and stuff did do a good job of making her.
I was just about to say that. I like the actual like their attempts at making her look like she's getting sick and dying actually did look alright. So
yeah,
fair play. And however they pulled that off.
I'm not sure if they like I don't know, did like makeup or prosthetics or something, or I don't know if that was, maybe they just didn't put any makeup on her. I don't know if that's what she just looks like, before.
No, there's definitely some makeup. They were definitely like making her look pale and sickly. Come on. This is just Kristen Stewart's natural state. Oh dear.
She's a lovely woman.
Oh, aye, sure. Yeah. I
love this movie.
I certainly do not. The Emperor.
And of course, when they do the thing when they, which I'm so like there needs to be a rule like, or maybe if like some type of law or something where if a movie does this, like they get fined like $500,000 or something. But we can't do the thing where someone gets injected and then they go like do a fast whoosh into the bloodstream and then you see all this dumb like CGI stuff like crystallizing or taking over. Like it's so goddamn dumb. I hate anytime a movie does it.
That's fair. Yeah. I don't know if it's a pet peeve of mine, but it did feel a bit over the top for this. Like I get it when you're watching something like Hollow Man where the whole point is a scientist trying to do something, so it's like sort of like showing the detail of it. Here it's like you don't need it, but
yeah.
But yes, so there's a lot of like Jacob looking sad because Bella's becoming a vampire. There's a lot of Jacob looking sad, and he's constantly upset that they're married, that they've had a honeymoon. When he sees the pregnant Belly, he's like, "Oh no, they've had sex." Oh. like this is just a really sad movie from Jacob's perspective. He's just constantly upset about everything.
He's the ultimate cuck.
Yes, he's the ultimate cuck until he falls in love with their baby, and then things are looking up.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's coming up, Jakey boy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's the sad part. Is he is kind of, I don't really like using the word cuck, but he kind of is in a weird way because like it's never really a triangle. We said this in the last movie. It was always Edward. Like he was just always this like second guy who wanted her but was never going to get her.
Yeah, that's what's weird because obviously I didn't read the books, but like when you would hear about him and stuff, you'd always hear it's like, oh, it's like this great love triangle, and there are some people that are Team Jacob and some people that are Team Edward, and then it's like when you watch it, it's like, oh well, the movie, at least the movies, I don't know, maybe if it's more ambiguous in the books or whatever, but the movies never at any point make you think that she's not totally head over heels in love with Edward. Like it's never not like maybe it could be this other guy. It's like no, it's obviously always going to be him.
Yeah. Yeah. Who are the people picking Team Jacob? Like, is this the sort of people who, when they're picking a sports team to follow, that they intentionally go for an underdog just because they?
I think I don't know, maybe furries. Do you think that like if a werewolf is dating another werewolf, do you think like they do it as werewolves or do they do it as humans? Is it more pleasurable one way or the other? I imagine you
Bit of
thought about
both.
this.
I've not thought about this, but maybe a bit of both. Maybe they start as humans, turn into werewolves halfway through. You know, go back.
There you go.
You know, I don't know. I can't imagine the oral sex is very good if you're both wolves.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be a tough one.
I don't think those teeth are made for pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely not. No.
Oh dear. Yeah, there's not much more to say about this. Do you know what's so funny is like the second one was full of crazy shit to talk about. The third one a little less, but the big moments were big. You know, like the stuff in the mountaintop with their camping and some of the silly plot stuff, and like the over the top violence of the third one was kind of weird as well. Like them like cutting things off each other and whatnot.
Right.
This one is by far the dullest of the four so far. It's not even like got a lot of funny bad stuff in it. Other than imprinting in a couple of Charlie moments, because he's the one interesting character who's sympathetic.
Yeah, I mean, I think the movie is just about 2 hours, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, but it honestly, it feels like, you know, this could have easily been like, I don't know, could have even been less than a 90-minute movie, I feel like, because the stuff, like everything we talked about, it all feels like it happened so quick. Like, it feels long while you're watching it, unfortunately, because it is boring and drags. But when you like sit back and actually talk about it, it's like, yeah, this is all that happened. It's not a lot.
It's not much. So, pardon me. See, I'm getting tired just talking about it.
Like, I guess it's easy to kind of pad it out with like, you know, a lot of like longing stares and like that kind of stuff.
Oh, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that. I was one of the bingo squares I had at the ready was Edward and Jacob have a stare down, but it actually never happens in this movie because Jacob does a lot of stares at Edward, but Edward's like he's never up for a fight anymore in this one. He just kind of looks down, or he's, you know, he's very accepting. It's like he knows Jacob's the cuck, so he's like, no, I don't have to be tough anymore. I know I've won. It's fine. There's a lot of that. There is a mid-credit scene that sets up the next one where the vampire Illuminati comment on the fact that you know, there's a new family member in the Cullens, and maybe this is presents a threat because they're stronger now. And I'm like, wait, that's all it took was one Bella to all of a sudden turn the tide and think that there's going to be like a vampire war.
There you go.
He gets their human assistant killed for spelling Carlisle wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't think much of this scene other than these wigs look terrible and I hate every time I see these characters.
My wife pointed out, I guess one of the vampires was Vecna. So I was like,
oh, really? Okay. Very good. Very good.
Other than that, yeah, I didn't care. I could not for the life of me have remembered who these characters are or what their deal is. I was just like, okay.
Yeah. But I'm assuming that that's going to be the plot of the last one, is like them coming to town to give their opinion on what's going on.
Yeah, so I don't really know anything about the last one. I mean, it would be a stretch to say that I'm like looking forward to it or anything, because obviously I'm sure we'll do it at some point. But if I remember correctly, I think it's the last one that I've heard is like very crazily over the top violent, which I guess would make sense if it was the last movie. Yeah, it's gonna have,
because basically this is the half of the story that doesn't have the action in it, because this is only the first half. So yeah, all the action is going to be in the next one pretty much.
Yeah, so not looking forward to it, but I guess maybe I am at least a little intrigued though to see like how over the top violent it's gonna get and stuff.
Yeah, I do know one thing, because I remember like hearing some reviews from people I liked back in the day when these were coming out, and I didn't remember a lot of details, like even the other ones. Like, you know, for some reason the one detail about the second movie I remembered before we watched it was that at one point Edward was going to throw Bella into a glass table by accident, and it was going to like set off the bloodlust. Like, I remembered that detail for some reason, but I couldn't tell you anything else about it. I don't want to spoil it, I guess, just in case someone cares about me spoiling it, but I do know that there's like a fake out towards the end of the last movie, but that's about it. That's all I really know.
A fake out.
Well, I could get more specific, but I don't want to spoil it.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just say a lot of bad things happening, but it turns out to be like a vision, and it's not actually. It's basically they do a Final Destination. they do a, oh wait, no, we can solve this, and then death will hunt us one by one.
Oh man.
So yeah, I don't have. That's it. I don't think I've got anything else.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. It's weirdly. It's a very bad movie, but I don't know. Like, I really don't have a lot to say about it because I just feel like there's not really much to it.
Well, we've already talked in the broad sense of the franchise so much at this point. There's not a lot, we don't have to reiterate that. And like, this movie doesn't offer a whole lot of content, so
yeah.
So that's it. That's Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 1. Oh wow. I guess I should ask you to rate the movie, Tim.
Geez, this is always like really so hard. I feel like for these movies, just because I just feel like it is just really out of the wheelhouse, like from the type of stuff that we do and type of stuff we're interested in. But I mean, just going kind of on my point of view and how much I enjoyed it. I don't know, like there really wasn't much I enjoyed about this. I don't really think I can, think of any like bright spots. Like, with the other movies, at least like you're kind of saying, like there's maybe some funny stuff here or there, or some like cheesy things or whatever, or at least more of a story or some action. Which it's not like really enjoyed that stuff in the other movies, but at least there's something there a bit more to kind of anchor you. While this, it just feels very much like very little is happening, and the stuff that is happening is just like, really, like this is like this huge franchise, and it's mostly just about like a couple trying to decide like if they're gonna have sex, and then if they're gonna have a baby. At a very strange, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll probably just give it a 2. I feel like, I mean, I don't know. There's not really much there I enjoyed, but I guess it's not the absolute worst movie I've seen and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
I was getting so distracted there because like my cat was being annoying and scratched at the door, and your cat's banging at something in the background. So yeah. I'm like, I want to strangle both cats, and I can only strangle one of them. So,
yeah, I think she's trying to like wipe her claws on the litter box.
I see. Yeah, I guess I'm going with a 2. But I like at this point, I'm like, what do these numbers even mean for this franchise anymore?
Right.
But I think I gave like some of the others like 3s, so I feel like this is worse. It should be a 2.
I feel like the other ones, like, again, I mean, we've talked about it before, where it's like,
and if this is your first ever episode of the show, by the way, this is out of 10, not out of 5. That's why I made that clear.
Yeah, I mean, like, the other movies, again, I still feel like there's a little bit of a caveat of like where it's like, well, I don't like these movies, but they're really not for me or whatever, and like I don't like them, but maybe I could see how like some young kid or something might have been into them. But I mean, this is just, I don't know, it's just weird. It's feel like,
I mean, I think they're all bad, right? They're all bad. Even if you can make the argument that the first few aren't for us, they've got a target audience. I think even for that target audience, I think they're still poor in a lot of ways, and we talked about that at length in those reviews. Even if the general premise isn't to our taste, like it doesn't do a good job of actually building a romance or making you care about them, or all the other things, right? This one is over a line where they're stretching out this book into 2 movies, so this movie feels anemic in terms of its. Basically, it feels like what Bella looks like when she starts losing weight towards the end of the movie. So you've got that problem. You've got a lack of any like what they try and make the main conflict, which is that some of the wolves want to come and kill Bella and the baby because they don't want this baby to be born. Feels that they're trying to make it into a big deal more than it probably was in the book, because they need to make, because the movie needs a conflict, so it's like, okay, this has to be your conflict, so we have to treat it like it's the big deal. and it never. I mean, yeah, I think it's really stretched thin.
Yeah.
So we'll see, what comes of the last one when I inevitably put a goal up for it and we have to do it. But I think we're probably good for this year at least. And we'll maybe see the final Twilight movie sometime in 2023. So
Valentine's Day, I guess.
Oh, it's a horrible idea, but yeah, maybe. Yeah. I'm surprised when you did the Breaking Dawn joke, you didn't say that was like a show about Dawn Summers like becoming a criminal.
That's not bad.
Maybe making crystal meth or something.
Yeah, the Breaking Bad Buffy crossover.
Yeah, Breaking Dawn. Better Call Giles being the other one.
That's good.
Anyway, that is. I guess that's it. I guess that's the review. We had an hour. That's not too bad. I was worried this was a bit too short when we realised we were running out of things to say. But that's fine. That's fine. That's still a full episode. It's a shorter one these days, but it's a full episode. It's fine.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. That is our Twilight Breaking Dawn part 1 discussion. Let us know what you think of the movie. If you're unfortunate enough to have seen it, in the comments below, like, subscribe. I'll take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. You can, of course, support the show by hitting the super thanks button below the video. But, of course, you can go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and support us and get some bonus episodes. At the $3 tier, you get a bonus episode once per month, like a review like the regular episodes. It's exclusive to Patreon. At the $5 tier, you get even more streams, which is a monthly show where me and Tim just talk about all the other random horror movies we've been watching. And Tim does a little quiz for me to do, and it's generally a good time. It's a nice relaxing show, which is basically turned into consistently around 2 hours. So if you like the idea of a nice lengthy chat, you can go and have a look at that. But yes, to thank our Patreon producers, which is one of the higher tiers we have over there. Thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Sharp, Board Now, Christopher Moy, David Brown, Al Treisman, and Alison M. Fordyce, and all of our other patrons for help keeping the content coming and supporting the show. And go get some goodies, not only for streams but also for the other shows we do as well. So go and have a look. But yeah, so there you go. That's been Screams After Midnight.
Hope you liked it.
And I think we've picked out what we're doing next. Obviously, we're actually getting close now to October, so there will be more episodes in October than usual for the October-thon. How many's up in the air? Just depends how many we can fit in. Which basically means how many Tim can fit in, because he's the one with the child and the wife and the responsibilities.
Yeah, I mean, October is still it is more difficult, but I do love October and to get in the spirit, so I'll do my best. We'll at least try to. I think for at the very least an extra episode a week, I think is probably a reasonable goal. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. We'll do what we can. We've got some stuff picked out. There's a couple of new things coming out as well. We are going to do Nope for October. I'll reveal that because people are probably wondering when that's coming. So look forward to that. We do have something else to do. So this is there's one more regular episode left for September after this one, I believe. And I think we're doing Orphan First Kill for that. So I assume that's what you're going to get. So look forward to that. Oh no, you're getting 2 more. Sorry, actually, as a bit of a treat, you're actually getting an extra episode as well before October. Just because of the ways the weeks have worked out, there's kind of like an extra Monday effectively, which is when we record. So yeah, you're also getting something else we have to sneak in so that we can do a new movie in October. You could probably work out what it is from that. Do you already know what it is, Tim? Why are you looking at? You're trying to figure it out. We've had this conversation.
Yeah, pretty sure I know.
Alright. Well, that's us, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and we'll see you next time. We're out.